At a chemical processing plant, a worker was performing routine operations near heated liquid handling equipment. The facility processed corrosive chemicals at elevated temperatures through a network of pressurized pipes and vessels. Without warning, a connection on one of the pipes failed catastrophically. The coupling separated and hot chemical liquid sprayed directly onto the worker's lower body. The corrosive substance at high temperature caused immediate chemical burns and thermal injuries. The worker collapsed in severe pain as the chemicals continued burning through clothing and skin. Hot chemical releases combine thermal burns with chemical tissue damage, creating compound injuries requiring immediate emergency treatment. All chemical piping systems must use appropriate materials rated for the chemicals and temperatures involved. Regular inspection of connections, flanges, and gaskets prevents sudden failures. Workers handling hazardous chemicals require full protective equipment, including chemical-resistant suits, face shields, and emergency eye wash stations nearby. Proper ventilation and containment systems minimize exposure when leaks occur. At a construction site, work was progressing on what appeared to be a routine day. A worker in a red shirt stood in the workspace, while nearby, another worker had positioned a ladder against the wall to access an elevated area. The site was active, with materials scattered around and tasks being completed. The worker ascended the ladder and began his work at height. He focused intently on the task at hand, methodically working through each step. The red-shirted worker remained in the vicinity, going about his own responsibilities. Everything seemed to be proceeding normally, just another typical moment in the construction workflow. The elevated worker continued his task, maintaining his position on the ladder. His hand thus moved with purpose as he worked on the wall section. The ladder stood firm against the surface. Seconds passed. The work area remained quiet except for the sounds of labor. The worker adjusted his stance slightly to access a different section. Then, without warning, the ladder gave way. In an instant, everything changed. The worker and the ladder fell together in a violent motion. His body twisted uncontrollably through the air before slamming into the concrete floor with crushing impact, his neck taking the full force of the fall. Always maintain proper ladder positioning and keep your center of balance. A single moment of instability can result in catastrophic injury. At a residential construction site, earth-moving operations were underway. A backhoe loader operator was working in the area behind a house, maneuvering the heavy machine to complete excavation tasks. The terrain showed signs of recent ground disturbance, with loose soil and uneven surfaces throughout the work zone. Trees lined one side of the property, providing a natural boundary to the workspace. The operator guided the backhoe along the designated path, the machine's engine running steadily as it moved across the terrain. The bucket attachment was positioned for the next phase of work. Everything appeared routine as the operator maintained control of the vehicle, navigating the compact space between the house and the property line. The backhoe continued its movement, rolling forward at a controlled pace. The operator remained focused on the immediate task, operating the controls with practiced familiarity. The ground beneath the machine's wheels compressed under the weight. The work progressed methodically, each movement deliberate and measured. Suddenly, the earth gave way. The ground collapsed beneath the backhoe's massive weight, and the entire machine tilted violently. In a horrifying sequence, the backhoe rolled sideways into a deep ditch, tumbling with tremendous force. The operator had no chance to escape as the multi-ton machine crushed him during the roll, causing instant fatal death. Always assess ground stability before operating heavy equipment near edges or excavations. Unstable soil can collapse without warning under machinery weight. At a warehouse facility, loading operations were in progress. A delivery truck had been backed up to the building's entrance, positioned flush against the loading area. Inside the truck's cargo space, boxes were stacked in organized rows, creating a dense wall of inventory. A woman in a red dress had entered the truck's cargo area to perform an inspection. The woman continued her inspection work, standing on the bridging platform as she examined the boxes. Her focus remained on the task at hand. The truck's engine idled quietly as the inspection proceeded. Without any warning, the truck began to move forward. The driver, unaware that someone was still in the loading area, pulled away from the dock. The metal bridge platform that the woman was standing on suddenly disappeared beneath her feet. She plunged directly into the widening gap between the truck and the building, falling into the dangerous space as the vehicle continued moving away. Always establish clear communication protocols and use spotters during loading operations to ensure no personnel are in dangerous positions before vehicles move. At a loading facility, a delivery truck was being prepared for transport. A team of workers had gathered around the vehicle to load large granite slabs onto the truck bed. The heavy stone materials were stacked and ready for loading. 2 workers had positioned themselves inside the truck's cargo area to receive and arrange the slabs, while their colleagues remained on the ground to assist with the lifting and placement. The loading operation proceeded as the team worked in coordination. The workers inside the truck guided the placement while those outside lifted and pushed the materials forward. The rhythm of the work continued steadily. More slabs were loaded into the truck bed, the stack growing taller with each addition. The workers maintained their positions, continuing the loading process. The granite pieces were arranged one after another. The team moved with practiced efficiency, handling the heavy materials as part of their routine work. The loading area remained active with movement and coordination. Then, in a catastrophic instant, the entire stack became unstable. The weight shifted, and the granite slabs collapsed in a violent cascade. One worker managed to escape from the truck bed just as the material gave way, but his colleague had no time to react. The massive weight of the granite slabs came crashing down, trapping him beneath tons of stone. The impact was crushing and fatal. Always secure loaded materials properly and never position workers beneath or within unstable stacks of heavy materials. In a manufacturing facility with automated conveyor systems, a worker was performing tasks on large rotating rollers while the machinery remained operational. Standing dangerously close to the exposed rotating equipment, the worker reached toward the moving roller to make an adjustment. The rollers pulled the worker's entire body into the machinery, wrapping him around the cylinder in a continuous rotation. The immense force caused catastrophic crushing and torsional injuries. All rotating machinery must be equipped with emergency stop controls within immediate reach of operators. Lockout-tagout procedures are mandatory before any maintenance, cleaning, or adjustment work begins on equipment with moving parts. Protective guards must cover all rotating components, and workers must never attempt to clear jams or make adjustments while equipment is running. At a construction material facility, a worker was tasked with moving bags of cement from an inclined conveyor belt system. Instead of maintaining proper work posture and focus, the worker engaged in reckless behavior, performing a catwalk-style dance while operating near the moving equipment. While showboating and not paying attention to his surroundings, he attempted to lift the cement bag from the active conveyor. His foot became entangled in the moving belt mechanism, and he was pulled into the machinery. The powerful conveyor dragged him along the belt path, causing severe crushing and fatal death. This incident demonstrates the fatal consequences of workplace horseplay and lack of attention to safety. Workers must remain fully focused when operating near any moving machinery. Emergency stop cords should be installed along the full length of conveyor systems. Supervisors must enforce zero-tolerance policies for unsafe behavior and horseplay in industrial environments. In a commercial parking area adjacent to an active construction or fabrication site, a worker was entering a shop through the front door during normal business operations. Nearby, workers were operating angle grinders. Due to improper securing, excessive speed, or mechanical failure, a circular saw blade detached from the cutting equipment and became a high-velocity projectile. The spinning blade traveled across the open area at tremendous speed and struck the shop door just moments after the worker had entered, embedding itself in the doorframe. Had the timing been seconds different, the worker would have been struck by the deadly projectile, resulting in catastrophic injuries. All cutting discs and saw blades must be properly installed according to manufacturer specifications and inspected before each use. Work areas using rotary cutting tools must be enclosed with protective barriers to contain debris and failed components. Workers in adjacent areas must be warned when such equipment is in operation, and appropriate exclusion zones must be established and enforced. In a manufacturing facility, 3 workers were standing near an automated production machine engaging in casual conversation during operational hours. The female worker was positioned dangerously close to the active machinery with her arm extended into the equipment's working envelope. As the automated mechanism completed its programmed cycle, the moving components trapped her arm between the machine parts. A male colleague immediately noticed the emergency and activated the emergency stop button, halting the machinery before it could complete its crushing motion. The worker sustained a fractured arm but avoided amputation due to the quick response. Workers must never stand within the operational zone of automated equipment while it is running. Safety interlocks and light curtains should be installed to prevent access to hazardous areas during machine cycles. All personnel must be trained to immediately recognize and activate emergency stop controls. Casual conversations should take place only in designated safe zones away from operating machinery to prevent such preventable injuries.